All right, all right, all right. Let's see what we've got.
Welcome, everybody, to the Destiny 2 Gambit special here at rampancy.net. I am Blackstar, along with Narcogen, and we're going to be talking about the special preview game mode that Bungie was allowing us to do this past Saturday. The actual release is going to be on this Tuesday coming up, but we actually had a chance to play some of the previous stuff going on with a couple of friends as well as by ourselves. And Narcogen had a bunch of different things he wanted to talk about. So without further ado...
It wasn't just us, it was everybody. This is a open 24 hours free trial. No, the people who were special recorded earlier. They all streamed this last week.
Last month.
We know that.
They went to go play at Bungie. But yeah, I do want to say, I want to say a big thank you out for KS Cody as well as Fusion is back. Both of them played with us.
They're featured in the footage that you'll be seeing here of us playing.
Yep. And if anybody remembers, Fusion actually helped me go flawless a year ago, and it was absolutely spectacular that he joined us this time for the special event, because as we'll be discussing, it radically changes when you actually have a team of 4. But we'll be discussing details on that. But I definitely wanted to thank him for joining us, as well as, to be honest, I want to do one shout out to one character, which you may not expect. The Cyber Dragon 7, who was the single opponent in one round that we did, who stayed in. He didn't go to orbit. His whole team either abandoned them or had network problems, but he stayed. And we actually thanked him for that, and he actually responded. He said, no problem. He goes, that was one of the best Gambit matches I've had thus far, humor-wise. So a big thank you for Cyber Dragon 7 for sticking in for that game. So, okay. So, Narcogen, take it away. Your notes on Bungie's Gambit.
Right. So we talked about what you expected from the mode based on the promotion, and what you had thought that basically that it was going to be like a PvP mode for people who like to play PvE. But
Yes.
I thought, and it seems like from what we've seen, that it really is more of a it's more of a PvE mode for people who like to PvP.
Yes.
Because it is timed and paced like a PvP activity, and the actions in the game that have the greatest impact are the PvP actions, even though you spend most of your time doing PvE actions.
Yes. And the funny thing is, it's one of those, chocolate peanut butter type things. Really it depends on where you're coming from, what your expectations are, what you like more of. And while the vast majority of it, there's a couple of different ways that you could take it. And on some levels, you may look at it as, okay, this is PvP training for PvEers, or for PvPers, it's get a chance to do something a little different with more PvE type activities. Because there seems to be a segregation in what people play. In fact, there are some streamers I was watching the other day who were also commenting about this very new game type, because this is something radically new as far as the Destiny universe. Nobody's done like anything in any of their game types before. And their attitude and their response was, I have never played PvE. Never.
Yeah.
This is their original foray in the game as far as PvE content and stuff. They don't play it. They're simply PvPers. So this they absolutely loved and enjoyed, but they have no exposure to the stuff that Narcogen and I have been playing for 4 years.
I can also see why lots of people are upset and constantly of the opinion that Destiny is terrible and that Bungie needs to fix things, because if you're only playing the PvP and lots of people don't seem to like it that much, that then I don't know.
For technical issues, or for performance issues, or for matching issues, or for major discrepancies in skill level issues, there are all kinds of different things that can make PvP very unenjoyable for a lot of people. Believe me, you know who you're out there.
There's so little variety in Destiny's PvP modes that I find it difficult to imagine somebody could sustain interest for 4+ years playing only that. It's interesting.
And every time they've tried to vary it, it's had very mixed responses. Perfect example is with D1, there were a lot of variable modes that some people liked, but they weren't always populated very much. And when they tried modes like Supremacy, there were people that would dislike it so much they would immediately quit. So, their foray in varying has not always been very well received. Whereas this, so far, has been highly popular in its initial response.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think, though, if you're a PvP averse PvE player, I'm not sure that the mode as currently constituted is really going to function well as training. Although there are a lot of advantages given to the person who invades and does the PvP action, that's only available at certain times. It's only available to one player at a time. And I think someone who's been nervous or trepidatious about going into PvP up to now is not going to be the person who says, let me edit, open that portal. When are you going to open that portal so I can go? The person who playing with us who was asking about that was the person who was already very accomplished at PvP, better than all the other teammates in our group at PvP, and had the biggest impact on the game with their PvP play.
And they were carrying us in many, many ways. So, the other thing is maybe not so much training. Training from a certain perspective is if you want to learn how to do it. More exposure in as if you've never done it. So it could be perceived of either way.
But I would say, this is the worst possible thing there, because compared to PvE, PvP play moves very quickly, and Guardians have a lower. I mean, people complain about time to kill. They want time to kill lowered, but the time to kill of a Guardian is way lower than most challenging enemies on the PvE side of the game. I mean, you're about as squishy as whatever the tier of enemy just below the lowest tier. Like you're not as weak as a Thrall or a Scion, But when you're talking about 2 and 3 hit kills, right? 2 headshots on one body, or 2 melees, or whatever it is. That's really, really weak. And so then you get this invasion mechanic where, you're playing some PvE and you immediately get invaded, and it turns out that character has a lot of advantages. So it's not even like a PvP match where you're more or less on an equal footing, and you maybe differ by what class you've chosen or what your loadout is. This is a big stack in favor of the invader, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, they've made a lot of changes, and this is definitely, I'm trying not to say original, but the simple fact is that this is definitely the most radical change in any of the game types. It is definitely something new to this universe. I don't know if there are any other video games out there that have similar encounters or setups as far as design goes. But yeah, for us, this is all the most different and the most original for this particular game.
It's probably something from a 10-year-old World of Warcraft raid, for all we know. I mean,
maybe.
Dad will be all over it and tell us exactly what they stole it from. I don't know.
Back in 1998. Yeah, so I mean, who knows?
Okay,
so yeah.
So I expect that most people who have any interest probably already know about it. But the basic premise of the Gambit is, the idea is that you do some you fight some PvE enemies in waves. They drop motes that are kind of like orbs, except they're little pyramids.
Supremacy. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, or like the supremacy crests in PvP. They go away after a while. You carry them back to a location where you bank them. If you bank in increments of 5, 10, or 15, that spawns a strong enemy that blocks the opponent's bank, which is the other team that's in an area similar to yours but is separate. And then at a certain point, there's a portal that you can opt to go through where you enter the other team's area and can kill them, and any I almost said crests, but any motes that are being carried by that character are then not merely dropped, but they are erased. They are lost.
Yeah.
So it's not as big a swing as you would get in Supremacy. It's not like they're picking your motes up and then carrying them back through the portal to their zone and depositing in their bank. I mean, if they did that.
Oh, don't give them any ideas.
I'm sure they did think of that. I'm sure they did think of that, and they're like, well, we can't do that, because that would just swing games so quickly. If you lost 15 motes on one side and gained it on the other side, because the max necessary to spawn the primeval is 75. So
and people just camp.
Yeah, and people who are good at PvP can go in because of the advantages they have and kill 2, 3, or all 4 members of the opposing team.
Oh yeah, Fusion was doing that for us on many occasions.
Fairly regularly.
So it's totally totally possible.
And so my last thing, I guess, is a wish list, and I want to make it clear when I talk about this that it's like it's not really a complaint. It's not something I think is a mistake or a flaw. I don't think I'm necessarily suggesting any kind of improvement or saying there's anything bad about the mode.
Yeah, we don't think it's broken or anything. I mean, it's brand new, so...
Yeah, and lots of people seem to like it. On balance, the comments I was reading in subreddit seem to be kind of positive. but I would look at it as in like my personal preference or wish would be that this mode would be more appealing to me if some of these changes were made. And so the first one,
and again, this is first impressions. I mean, this is
first
literally
just a day of play, a few hours. That was it. Would be that I would like there to be some PvE mechanic way of countering the actions taken by the PvPer. Right now, you have counters. The counters are, kill the invader when he comes in, or run away from him until the timer expires because he only has 30 seconds. Go and invade them and kill them and make their moats go away. So anything the invader can do, there's a counter for, but they're all PvP-based mechanics.
Right.
I think the amount of time that it takes to kill enemies, collect moats, bank them, and do these things basically means that there's no greater efficiency you can be operating in that counters the benefit given to the other team by the invader who comes in, sees somebody who's carrying a bunch of moats, and then kills them. Like there's no way to get anything, and the design
like
notes
a safe area or something.
Yeah,
or?
well, I don't know. Like a safe what? I mean, like a safe from like the access rate. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't even know. Unfortunately, this is a really vague wish list because it's non-specific. I don't have any concrete idea
or a solution in mind.
All the best counters for a team that's wrecking you with PvP is more PvP. So if you if you're on a team of 4 PvEers, nobody wants to go into the portal. Nobody's able to respond to the invader when they come.
Right, and they've got a guy who's good.
You're just going to get wrecked. And buckling down and getting better at the kill PvE enemies, bank, and do those things, I don't think that's going to... It doesn't look like it's going to make that up. There does seem to be a mechanic that says that when you're... I didn't notice that this was happening, but when you're down, it's supposed to spawn those VIP enemies that are worth more.
Oh, is that what it does?
Yeah, we were seeing those enemies, and I did not catch on that it was tied to your team being behind.
No, I thought it was simply tied to the wave, to tell you the truth. I thought it was simply, because there are certain numerical points of which you are not going to be able to recover, and I thought that was the adjustment for it. I thought literally after, 3 waves, 4 waves, 5 waves, whatever, that, higher level droppers would then show up to help counter being down so that you had a chance to recover. That's what I thought they were there for. I did not know it was tied to the numerical value of your team.
Bungie's guide emphasizes the idea of don't give up. You can come back if you're behind, and specifically points out that spawn mechanic as evidence of it. In other words, when you're down, go look for that enemy because that will be more moats that you can get by doing other things.
Wow, I feel sad for Dragon now because his team obviously didn't know that.
No. Okay, so now to drill down on the moats. The first thing you noticed that really ticked you off was the moats expiring.
They disappear on you, and well, here's the funny thing, because them bringing back snipers and changing slots in loadouts has been a big thing that everyone's been looking for a long time, especially me. I miss carrying a sniper in my number 2 slot. I can't tell you how many years playing D1, I was a big sniper whore, and I would usually try to have one of those every chance I got. It helped with the long game, it helped in clutch things, it helped in DPS damage. I was a big sniper guy. So when D2's modifications for not only the weapons but the ammo was not conducive of that, I found that frustrating. When I heard they were bringing it back, I was thrilled that we would actually now have that option again, because I figured there would be changes enough to bring back that type of sniper game. And when I saw this game type, I was thrilled at the idea. It's like, oh my god, because even in some of the videos that they were advertising for it, they were actually people sniping like crazy. Some of them even were using dual snipers. They were using a heavy and a mid. I was psyched. I said, oh my god, this is what I'm going to do. And I did it. My first loadout, I did dual snipers. And it was actually fun. But the problem was that trying to do the long game where you're killing either specific or numbers of targets, when you then go to grab the moats, it was so long in getting from one side of the map to the other, and there were no other teammates around. By the time that you arrived there, they would disappear on you. You weren't making progress. So the low ammo you have is being wasted. You've killed guys, but not actually made any progress with your count. And you've now gone all the way from one side of the map that you now have to go all the way back to the other. So my dream plan of staying around in the middle very much and then sniping from a distance to help my teammates was shattered. I was not a happy camper. And it's so frustrating because when the motes are being picked up by your teammates, there's no way for you to tell the teammate, no, I'm going for that mote. So everyone is now running around playing little Rumbas, all going for the same things. You're wasting time.
There's not a good way. In fact, the guide also points out that just like when I haven't get to the invasion bit, but you can actually see the number of motes that your characters are carrying.
And when you run over 15 of them and you collect 2 and all of your friends have the rest of them, you're like really scratching your head and frustrated. I could be doing something better.
What Bungie wants for people is that, like, if you've got 3 motes and you need 2 to get 5 for the small blocker, or you've got 13 and you need 2 to get 15 for the big blocker.
I can't tell you how many times I had 4 and couldn't find 1.
Your friends shouldn't be competing with you to pick up motes. Everybody should be trying to round their totals off to an increment of 5 to maximize the effectiveness of the banking. But I gotta admit, it also moves so quickly. It's hard to process all the available information into doing that when you're running full speed at things.
Yeah, and everyone's doing it. It's kind of a crazy time. And not to mention the fact, to me, also the indicator is not as good as Supremacy. I don't think anybody's ever said that before. But yeah, the indicator of you actually picking those things up, there was an audio response and a visual response. And here it's like sometimes when they disappear and fade away, you're constantly looking at your counter. It's like, well, did I pick that up or did it disappear? Do I have that many, or is it gone?
I wonder if teams are going to go to like a dedicated carrier strategy where basically like you'll have
I wouldn't be surprised.
One guy who's guarding, 2 people are killing, and the third one is doing mop up and then collecting up, so that nobody's competing for motes.
Right.
One guy is going to pick up all the motes and bank them, and maybe it'll rotate, like when the guy gets 15, then he runs to the bank. Somebody else comes out and starts killing and collecting, and then the other guy rotates in and out.
It also limits your risk if you get invaded, too, because the likelihood of your other guys, getting in the way or defeating the invader before they get to the guy carrying the motes is also pretty good, because only one guy has them, rather than, losing 5 or 10 with everybody else. So, I just wish that there was, a chime, an indicator, or to be honest,
to tell you that you got the mote.
I would prefer, to be honest, that it was kills.
I think it would be okay if they didn't expire, because what I feel basically is
that would be better.
The expiring just adds another timer on the activity.
Yes.
But the activity already has several timers. The whole thing is structured as a race to spawn the primeval, a race to open the portal, a race to kill the boss.
Yep.
And I can understand Bungie saying basically we don't want people hanging back. We don't want them to play the long game. We don't want them hiding at the back of the area, shooting everything from range. But the way I look at it, it's like, you know what? If that's bad, let them do it anyway. Let them sit back, use a scout rifle and a sniper on everything, hoover up the motes afterwards. They'll be behind, and then there'll be a big jump. But
I don't care.
But so what?
It's all about if the team wins. I don't care about getting more kills than everybody else. But to be honest, I think the mechanic would be better served, as far as making it easier for me anyway, is if it were kills. If you actually got killed, because they're already counting your kills anyway, right? So if you have to get a certain amount of kills and then bank the kills, rather than having the kills, then the motes, then the running to, then the running back. I mean, I understand, why the mechanic is there, but it's the disappearing factor that is the most annoying, because there's nothing more bothersome than running all the way across the map for that one mote you need, and it evaporates. And there's no timer or indicator that you can visually look at after that's been killed by either you or your teammate to know when that's going to happen. So your choice is you've got to run at it. You don't have a choice not to. You need that thing. But whether you make it or not is highly variable based on when that target was destroyed.
Yeah,
so,
and if they're like orbs and they're affected by physics, then I'm waiting to see, because we've only seen the one map, which is the EDZ map, which doesn't have a lot of verticality on it, and it's not on the edge of anything. But there seems to be another map that has more of that in that. So I'm wondering about, again, like,
that may be more problematic.
Motes falling off things, or being blown off things and propelled away,
or lost in the water.
So anyway, I think the thing we came to is that it didn't seem like it would be a huge deal if motes just didn't expire.
No.
It would allow some players to play more conservatively, but they would give up the early lead. In other words, they wouldn't be, if they're waiting to kill everything before they collect, then they're waiting to bank 15 at a time, which means they're not going to get an early blocker. They're not going to get an early invasion portal.
Yeah.
But if they want to give up those advantages, you should let them. I mean,
yeah. All I can think of is that they wanted to make it hectic. They want to make it exciting. They want to make it. It's got to be crazy all the time.
It's plenty hectic. Okay.
Exactly. So
the next thing is invasion, because we talked about this being PvE for PvPers instead of PvP for PvEers. The only real limitation on the invader is another timer. They get 30 seconds, and each team can only have one at a time. And up until you have to get a certain number of motes to get the ability, and then it's only once in a while until the primeval spawns, and then you can do it one after the other. You can do it constantly.
Yeah. It hurts when I PvP though.
But it seems to be just a pretty risk-free, or at least low-risk activity. Now, if you go in carrying moats, you could lose them, and I've already seen
people do it. Yeah,
I've seen several. Look at this idiot videos where somebody goes in. I saw one posted on ZBO forum where a guy goes in and loses 15 moats, the maximum you can carry.
Well, that's
while
what I mean.
Invading.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by craziness. Because obviously, if he wasn't thinking, or he just thought he was all that in a bag of chips, he wasn't going to die. But the simple fact is that it's so crazy. Sometimes you forget you have them. You know, that you don't know that you didn't bank them. It's like he jumped in because of the opportunity.
It was a new mode, and I may have forgotten at times exactly how many I was carrying, but I spent a lot of my time looking at that screen and trying to figure out, I have 5, should I go for 10? I have 10, should I go for more? When do I bank?
Knowing that it matters. See, that's the thing. It's knowing that matters, and that doing that tactically is a mistake. I think a lot of people sometimes are just not aware of.
I never invaded, actually, because...
Oh, really?
Because, again, I'm not a comfortable PvPer. So I did, in the first set of matches when we were losing badly and we were not out, I figured let the randos do it. And then when you had your friends on, one was clearly better than the rest of it. So there's no point in my trying it while they're there. So I never actually saw it. So I've only seen other people's videos on what it looked like when you're the invader.
And we should mention the dynamic is that when we started this out, we really wanted to play with a lot of people, but either they were busy doing other things or they were already in their own teams anyway, and everybody we invited either was getting off or doing other stuff. So we tried it with just us. It was a pair and 2 randos going up against people, and we ran into stacked teams of 4 into, way better PvP players.
Did you do an invasion while we were playing yesterday?
I did one at the end, and the fun. Well, I didn't do it when Fusion was doing it because that was his thing. We delegated stuff. But before that, I did actually try it because I was getting frustrated that even when you heard the invader was coming in, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go over here and he'll never find me. Well, some guy sniped me under a building on the opposite side of the map, and I was absolutely dumbstruck as to how he knew, because I was nowhere near a lane where there was any combat whatsoever. And then I found out when I invaded, there's an indicator of where everybody is. So it's like
you go in.
Hiding's pointless. So.
You have a timer. You have an overshield. And you have an indicator that shows you the location
where
of every opponent on the map and a number of a number representing the motes that player is carrying. So you know who you should go after.
And a lot of times people go in with supers too. They go in with supers and they go in with heavy.
You should go in with a super. You should go in with golden gun, or you should go in with hammers, or you should have a heavy. Sword. You should be full of ammo, whatever. But I also read that, you have a disadvantage because your screen turns red, and this makes it more difficult for you to target enemies. Now, since I didn't see that myself, and I've only seen the video, would you say, having poked your head into that once, was a color filter on the screen a serious problem?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And to be honest, having the enemy player come in with the color filter on it, I think it serves 2 purposes. 1, to let you know that that's not your teammate. You should worry about him. But 2, also to give them a quick visual to let you know where he is and where he's going. There's a little trail on it.
They could do one without the other. I mean, they could color the invader red for us to see, just like they do in normal PvP, which I also don't like, because for me it's simply not as parsable as the armor colors in Halo, where it's like red team, blue team, and I know who you are. I still end up shooting at friendlies around corners because it's a moving object. Then I'm like, he doesn't have that nice little narrow red outline.
And I can't tell you, how many times target identification has been a problem in PvP matches, because what happens is when somebody's at a distance, a lot of times their icon and their name will show up through objects or further than a target that's closer to you. I can't tell you how many times I've misidentified enemy targets because right behind him was my friend with his name floating over it. Yeah. So for this thing, I think they wanted something a little bit more visual to make it a little easier on the fly. But as far as that color graphic, no, it made no hindrance whatsoever in performance and actually killing things or having them kill me.
Yeah, so the only limitation on the Invader is 30 seconds. As long as you don't do anything dumb, like you don't go in and carry a lot of motes, you don't go in without a super, you don't go in without some ammo, you don't go in and then do nothing. There's really very little downside. You may end up having a big swing for your team if like all their players are carrying motes and you kill them all and they lose all those motes. I mean, no team would ever be carrying max motes at all times, right? But if they did, that would be ideally 60 motes.
Well,
so you could go down from being one load away from spawning the Primeval to nothing.
Losing,
remember, it's max. You wouldn't be that dumb, but.
No. But we did have games where guys lost over 60 motes singularly.
There's not much downside for failure. If you don't kill anybody or you get killed, you get returned to your own field. That's it. There's no downside to this, really. I mean, there's no reason not to do it every chance you get.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that
if you have a minimum comfort level with PvP.
Yeah, and to be honest, even if you time it right, even if your whole team gets wiped, the only real hindrance, to be honest, is A, losing your respawn time, and B, if you haven't done any boss damage, it doesn't really hinder you whatsoever because he's going to be gone in 30 seconds anyway.
in the second phase.
So so if you time it right, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Go figure.
So the wish list item, I guess, that I came up with this is that if there was some kind of a perk, either in a subclass tree or maybe in game to get entrance to the Gambit activity, you had to do a simple thing that got you like a class item, and the class item just had like one perk tree on it with two choices, right? And it's basically says, okay, as an invader, what do you want? Do you want radar or do you want overshield? Right. One or the other. And the opposing team that you're invading, they won't know which one you have until they see you. So they still have to watch out. So it kind of has the same chilling effect on them in the sense that they don't know whether they're being hunted or not, and they don't know if the enemy's going to be too tough to challenge or not, whether whether you have to counter with a super or team shoot or something. Until you see them, you won't know. When you see them, you say, "Oh, he doesn't have a shoulder shield. That means he has radar." But having both of them just again,
it's a question of overpoweredness. If you've got a good PvPer
on your team, especially if they have a super that's charged, you can counter it. Yeah. But I don't know. That was my idea, basically. Just make somebody choose one or the other instead of getting both would maybe balance things out for the defenders a little bit.
Right. Well, the other thing is population density is whether you're going in this by yourself with a partner or a full team of 4. And our experience was that going in, even just as pairs, was not enough to counter teams that are filled with people communicating and who have the goal in mind and are playing well. And not every activity has those kind of problems simply because they have such a varying range of people in your PvE group with 4s or 6s. I mean, especially now with 6s in PvP. If you have one bad guy in your team, you can still make up for it. Whereas here, if you have no PvP pro that can wipe out the team of 4 at the right time, you're not going to do quite as well. And sadly, if you can't communicate with the 2 randos that you got in, or the 3 randos, depending on many, that puts you at a serious disadvantage at certain points, because even though communication isn't 100% necessary, I did see videos of people fighting over who was going through the portal.
Oh, I can easily see that.
Yeah, so even the person may want to go through, but you remember the game we had. Yeah, every time he went in, he would instantly die.
Yeah, which is another reason why I didn't really. Yeah, which is another reason why I didn't really feel I wanted to do it. Because if I go in just as another guy was going to go in and then I die, it's like, oh, what, you jerk? Why'd you do that? So again, if I'm not confident I should do it, I won't.
Yeah. He was going in with motes too. It was hysterical. But I just remember the one team that we're playing where one guy in the opposing team lost. It was like 60 or 68.
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget. It was in the 60s.
By the way, Bungie already acknowledged the fact that it is a bug that people
really?
are being dumped out of the game, and
No way.
that joining in progress will be enabled when the game mode goes live
thank
for real.
goodness. Oh, good.
Which,
All right, well, that
okay,
makes me happy.
On the
Excellent.
upside means, yes, if you get booted to orbit, you can rejoin your friends maybe.
Good.
But it also means that the same complaints will apply about people who go in solo or as a pair and get dumped into a match where they feel they can't win because joining progress is enabled. So
yeah, that
so
is
yeah,
true.
but we ended up winning 2 matches by default when the other team either quit or got disconnected
were lagged out,
or something, and then we had another game where there was 1 player left and they did stick it out, which
Yes.
was a real class move.
Go Dragon.
And that was where we noticed that invaders are also not affected by the PvP enemies in your arena. They don't seem to target you. They don't seem to be able to damage you.
Nope. Well, that's a funny thing because I did
So
remember
yet another
reading about
advantage
it.
for the invaders.
Yeah, they're basically together in the same team. And in fact, I saw a video of one guy who actually, when the boss came up, not only did they bubble the opposing team's bank area, somebody were actually putting a bubble and a shield on the boss. So that while the boss was walking around on that platform, he was apparently being blocked by a lot of them by the bubble. He was actually defending their guy. So I thought that was hysterical and an interesting tactic. That if you get a primeval up there, that a PvPer can come up and give that guy a bubble. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of goofy things people are going to do with this thing, and I look forward to a lot of it because I gotta say, the first time I went out, I really was getting ticked off by the way a lot of the things were working, and it was very frustrating. If you want to enjoy this match, you are much better off getting a team of 4 friends and going in and having a good time, because doing this alone or even with just a pair, it was not remotely as fun of an experience. Quite the opposite. I was terribly disillusioned when the sniper disappointment happened, but also with the fact that we were getting not only pub stomped, but the people even we were playing with. There was one game where one guy was literally just dancing. He was not interested in playing at all, and that was not helping, and it was more than a little frustrating. So definitely this is a 4 player matchup.
Yes. Yeah, so that was the last point, was that, if you're looking for a solo queue or a solo activity, this probably isn't it. We had a big swing in the quality of our experience, fun-wise and victory-wise, playing with a full team of 4. I've already seen plenty of other complaints about why is the game matching randoms up with stacked teams.
Well, that's true of any PvP experience.
It's not. It doesn't have the complexity of a raid. But there's more mechanics in it than
a public event
or something comparable. It helps if all members of the team know kind of what strategy you're using, if you've assigned any specific roles about who is going to do the invasion PvP thing, so that people aren't fighting each other at the portal. So people are announcing to each other where the invader is and what they're using, so you could be ready for it.
Or at least more ready for it.
Yeah. So there's lots of reasons why it was a lot better, and especially if you're not a PvPer, hope one of your teammates is.
Yep.
Because that really makes a big difference if they are good at PvP.
Yep. I'm also curious as whether people are going to
comfortable with it.
Yeah, are going to come up with strategies for precisely having no PvPers. What if nobody invades? If somebody can come up with something reasonable to help that, because I've already seen boss damage vids where people are actually saying, we were using the boop gun, we were using tractor cannon, and that was working very, very well. But supposedly that's only like a 35% bonus. If we had actually done melting point, because I was a solar titan, if we were using melting point, it would have gone even quicker, because apparently that is a 50% gain across all damage types.
Yeah,
not just void or arc or solar.
I wouldn't mind if they did, as a variation or a temporary event thing, a invasionless Gambit, and say, okay, look, just compete on how quickly you did things. And I don't like that's like speedrunning, and I don't necessarily like speedrunning. But if it's like, okay, you're going to do a 5 or 10 or 15 minute activity here, where in 3 rounds you're going to see how quickly you can run through an event. okay, I would do that once in a while, and it means
Right.
you know I'm not going to get griefed by having all my progress lost because a guy jumped in on me with a super
Yeah.
and killed me with a golden gun that I had no time to react to.
We had a bunch of spawn killing golden gunners, in fact, because
Yeah.
even when you die, you would respawn
Yeah.
and you would get killed by the same golden gun. That happened twice.
Yes.
Yeah,
it seems relatively easy as an invader. You're in there long enough, and a roaming super lasts long enough that you're able to kill people once, wait for them to respawn, move towards the spawn, and then kill them again.
Yeah, that was not fun.
There's that.
So okay, so what's up next?
I think that's it. I mean, basically,
think?
the last
Final
wish
thoughts?
list basically was invasionless. If there was an occasional invaderless version, that might be interesting to do.
Okay. So, is there anything else you want to do?
No, I think that's it.
right.
This is going to go up as soon as I can edit it, and we're going to play Forsaken campaign when it comes out on Tuesday.
Yeah, so check that out. Please feel free to check out all the rest of the stuff. We certainly hope that you enjoyed watching. If there's any other videos that you're looking for, we have a bunch of different games on our Rampancy.net channel. We're actually going through on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. EDT. We're going through Dishonored 2 right now, so please get a chance to check that out. And for all of our other stuff, we've got tons of different games and way too many to mention, but there's probably something in there for everyone. So feel free to check out our Rampancy.net on YouTube. And for everyone that's watching, we certainly hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to catching you next time right here on Rampancy.net.
Bye-bye.
Primeval down. Good work.
Oh, there was one last thing.
There always is.
If they were going to go for budget Matthew McConaughey to MC this thing,
All right, all right, all right.
I wish they had
see
gone
what
for
we've
True
got.
Detective Matthew McConaughey
Cabal
instead
on
of
the field.
car ad Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to send a memo. Those, yeah. Darn car ads.